Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Jack here, and today I'm going to be talking about the brand new film Turning Red, which is the newest movie in Pixar's lineup. Turning Red is a coming-of-age drama/comedy movie, which is about a 13-year-old girl named May who suddenly gets these crazy powers that turn her into a red panda, and she has to deal with that while navigating through middle school as well as her own family life. So first, I'd like to talk about one of the things that Pixar is most known for, its animation. I think in Turning Red, the animation is overall very strong. It's definitely more stylized than a lot of the previous Pixar movies, even though Pixar has kind of been moving towards stylization with movies like Luca and Soul. I think here the animation definitely feels quite stylized, and a lot of the time the animation is fantastic. In a lot of the scenes, the animation adds new laughs, new charm that you don't get with any of the voice acting. The animation is really good here and it adds quite a bit. I will say there were a few shots where I felt like the animation was a little bit overdone, and it took me out of the story a little bit. It just felt like the movements were a little too grand, but this was only in a few shots in the movie, and overall the animation here was really solid. I think overall in Turning Red, the cast does a pretty good job. Honestly, I don't think in the movie there were any sort of big standout performances to me. However, everyone was good in Turning Red. I will say though, the main character, May, is a little hard to get on board with for me as a character. And I think part of this is in the voice acting. I think a lot of the time, May is very charming and very engaging on screen, but I think at times the acting can borderline on annoying. And while it never necessarily crosses the line into straight up annoying, the performance of May, for me, was a little bit inconsistent. However, I don't think this was fully a voice acting problem. I think it also had to do with the writing, which I'll get into a little bit more in a minute. Turning Red overall is a very charming movie. However, I will say that at times it can get into more cringeworthy territory, where it feels like it's just trying a little bit too hard. And I definitely get what they were going for when it does feel like they're trying too hard. The movie has a certain energy that comes with it. I feel like just a few times it just goes overboard a little bit and it gets a little bit cringeworthy for me, especially in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. During the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, I was actually considering stopping to watch the movie, even though I knew I wanted to make a review on it. And I was watching it with someone else. They felt the same way. They didn't want to keep watching. It got a lot better, I will say, but the first 5 to 10 minutes for me just kind of were very over the top and definitely somewhat cringeworthy. Both slightly in terms of the voice acting, but also I think a lot in terms of the writing. This is not the case for the entire movie, but definitely during the first 5 to 10 minutes and a few small other instances of the movie. Turning Red can definitely dip into some cringe. I'm not saying cringe. The directorial style in Turning Red is very bold, and overall I think it's really good. This movie is directed by Domichi, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, and overall I think the style does really well here. This director also directed a Pixar short a few years ago that was very well critically acclaimed, which I believe is the gateway into her directing this movie. But anyway, in Turning Red, the directorial style is really bold, and I think for the most part it works quite well. The flow of the movie is very energetic, it's very jumpy, it's got a lot of blood pumping through its veins, and it definitely feels like the movie has a clear vision of what it wants to be. While Turning Red is overall an enjoyable movie, I will say that I think the third act was somewhat riddled with problems for me. And it wasn't necessarily in the plot itself, it was more in the sort of moral arguments that the movie was trying to make, both to the characters in the movie and to us as the audience. Not only does Turning Red have sort of a moral to the story that it's trying to get across, but it also has a lot of decisions the characters are making that I didn't really feel the movie supported. Some of the biggest choices that are made in the movie, namely in the third act, I felt the movie to that point had been contradicting what they were doing. I think there were a lot of moments in Turning Red where it sort of showed us something that kind of felt negative, and then they tried to flip it as a positive, and there were, especially in the third act, quite a bit of moral justifications that I couldn't get on board with as an audience member. And I think if you watch it, you'll see there's quite a bit of things that I think the movie conflicts itself with. The movie has a message, but I don't think it did a particularly good job of selling it. In fact, I think at times it contradicts the message it tries to give. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is that May's friends in the movie, and also May occasionally, feel a little bit overwritten. The movie is trying to show an early 2000s dialogue feel between teens, and as a kid who grew up in the early 2000s, I really didn't feel like it hit a lot of those marks. It quite often felt over the top and a bit unbelievable to me. And while this was the case for May a little bit, I think it was more in May's friends and how they interact with her throughout the movie. Now, from the review, it might sound like I didn't like this movie, which isn't true. It was highly entertaining, but it also definitely had some problems for me along the way. I do still believe it was worth a watch, and I'm sad to see that it just went on Disney Plus instead of going in theaters. I think it definitely deserved a theatrical run. And yeah, overall, Turning Red is pretty good. It's worth a watch, and definitely don't get turned off by the first 5-10 minutes of it, like I almost did. I'm gonna give Turning Red a +2. So what did you think of Turning Red? Put it in the comment section down below, and make sure to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed the content. It really means a lot. It helps us to grow the channel and reach more people. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.